Hi, I'm Bud. Welcome to Kimba's Kingdom, the home of everything Kimba the White Lion. On this channel, I'm hoping to connect with fellow Kimba fans like you. So if there's something you'd like to see more of, or less of, let me know in the comments. I want to make the best videos I can for you guys. Today we'll be reviewing perhaps my favourite TV show of all time, the 1965 TV version of Kimba the White Lion. I'll be reviewing the individual episodes in later videos, but first I wanted to talk about the series as a whole. The 1965 animated Japanese series, Kimba the White Lion, based on Osamu Tezuka's original comics, is one of the most unique and culturally important stories of the last century. It's simultaneously unapologetically idealistic and brutally realistic. It's not afraid to show viewers the very worst of our world as it is now, but it's also not afraid to dream of how incredible our world could be. Nothing exemplifies this more than the series' main protagonist, Kimba, one of the most compelling characters ever portrayed in animation. He's suffered more than anyone at the hands of humanity. His father was shot before he was born, his mother drowned while kept captive on a human ship. He's alone and scared with no one to care for or support him, and it's all because of humans. Yet he doesn't want revenge or even justice. He just wants a world where all humans and animals live in peace, where there is no more killing, no more cruelty and no more fear. He sees the good side of humanity, the technology they've built to improve people's lives, the art they've made to make their world more beautiful, the societal structures they use to protect people from each other, and he dreams of the day when animals can share in that too. Kimba as a character is the perfect embodiment of the spirit of the show. He's seen the worst of our world, but he dreams of the best. With Kimba's many strengths, his compassion for other creatures, his forgiving nature, his courage and willingness to put himself in danger to protect others, it's easy to forget that he's still just a cub, and it's his weaknesses that really make you empathize with him. Kimba becomes emotionally overwhelmed by all the suffering he has to witness, and the immense responsibility of having to protect and reform a whole jungle full of animals. Of course he does, he's just a kid. You want to hug him and reassure him, but he has no one to do that. His parents are gone and he can't let his citizens, not even his friends, know how he's feeling because he can't afford to shake their confidence. He has to suffer on his own. And the scenes where he sneaks away to his room and cries with no one to reassure him are some of the most impactful moments of the series. He's also overly trusting, and again that makes sense, he's just a kid. He can't always tell when someone's tricking him, and it makes you want to give the villains a piece of your mind whenever they take advantage of this. He's also prone to making very rash decisions based on his own personal feelings. Even though he has great long-term plans for the jungle, he doesn't always think ahead, and if he sees someone in danger or something happening that he doesn't agree with, he'll race straight into the situation without thinking about the consequences, which can often cause more trouble than good. And deep down, he's really just scared and alone. He's scared of letting others down, scared of losing the peaceful jungle he's worked so hard to build, scared of losing his friends, which is so relatable. It's something that we all struggle with, really, and it makes him all the more likeable when he charges ahead anyway, and puts on a brave face even though we the audience know he's not at all sure of himself. While Kimba's the character who gets the most attention in the series, and rightly so, many of the other characters are interesting as well. My personal favourite minor character is Speedy Cheetah. I love his strong sense of loyalty to friends and family. In fair game, he's willing to fight with Kimba, who everyone in the jungle knows is pretty tough, to avenge his grandfather. And in Mystery of the Deserted Village, even when he's so badly injured he can't walk, he still tries to push on so Kimba can get to safety, and even tries to persuade Kimba to leave him behind to be run over by a bulldozer, not wanting Kimba to get into danger himself, though of course Kimba refused to leave him behind. But for all Speedy's loyalty, he's also pretty rash and can rush to assumptions about a situation and act on them before he's really figured out if they're true or not. Like when he hears Kimba's father killed his grandfather and immediately assumes that was true. And he's very hot-headed and frequently gets into fights with, well, everyone. But his flaws are honestly just as likeable as his positive traits. He's lovable in the same way as my uncle's cat. He tries to scratch everyone to death, but you know he secretly likes them deep down, and his ferociousness is more cute than scary. And I could go on about how cool all the characters are. Kitty, who at first glance seems like a typical damsel in distress, but who is actually surprisingly strong-willed and capable of standing up for herself and others. Bucky, who isn't the sharpest tool in the shed, but is hard-working, compassionate, and undyingly loyal to his friends, especially Kimba. And Claw, who is the perfect antithesis to Kimba's character. Unlike the idealistic and selfless Kimba, Claw doesn't stand for anything except his own power and survival, and he's willing to throw anyone under the bus to get it. But I'd better move on to the other aspects of the series or we'll be here all day. One thing I have to talk about is the music. I love soundtracks where you can instantly recognise what film or TV series the music is from, just from a single second of music. Soundtracks like Inception, Princess Mononoke, and Blade Runner that have a really distinct musical style. And I Sailed to Meter's Kimba the White Lion soundtrack definitely fits that description. The moment you hear that distinctive, hopeful and adventurous, yet somehow melancholic brass section, you know you're listening to Kimba the White Lion. The soundtrack is simultaneously silly yet beautiful, adventurous yet thoughtful, hopeful yet bittersweet. It's the perfect accompaniment to the series as a whole, which itself has a very unique tone. Each episode is fun to watch and it never feels excessively heavy or dark. It's always a fun ride, yet the series still packs an emotional punch beneath its cute and silly exterior. Often in an otherwise fun and adventurous episode, there'll be a scene that really hits you or an idea that really compels you and makes you think, but it never ruins the fun of the rest of the episode. The whole series has this real bittersweetness to it. Kimba's dream of a world where no one has to kill to survive, where humans and animals understand and care for each other, and where predator and prey live in harmony is so idealistic and it makes you happy just thinking about it. But then the show will hit you with a scene like the humans killing Speedy's grandfather, or the elephants being massacred at the game reserve, and you realise how far away Kimba's dream really is, both in his world and in ours. But when you see Kimba keep fighting for it anyway, you realise that you have to strive for it. Even if it's far away, even if it seems impossible, utopia is too wonderful not to fight for. It leaves you simultaneously joyful, depressed, and inspired, and all while still being fun and cute to watch. In terms of technicalities, the series is very well written. The stories stay focused and don't tend to drift or get sidetracked, and they keep you engaged with a really effective balance of slow, thoughtful moments, silly, fun moments, and intense, action-packed moments, all three of which add something to furthering the story and exploring the personality of the characters. The show realises there's no need to rush and gives us time to soak in each location and each event, but it picks up the pace when it needs to during action sequences. It has a great sense of dramatic rhythm. The show is also great at building tension. In episodes like the insect invasion, the bad baboon, and Such Sweet Sorrow, you genuinely fear for the survival of Kimba's jungle and his dream for peace between the animals, even though you know he'll pull through eventually. The show is good enough at building tension that you still can't help but worry and get sucked into the drama of the episode. The voice acting is also on point. Every character has a distinct voice and personality, and the lines never feel forced or awkward. You never realise there's a person talking into the microphone. The voice acting is convincing enough that you can't help but get totally immersed in the world and its characters. Billy Lou Watt especially does a great job of voicing Kimba, who is a difficult character to voice, being simultaneously an emotional kid, an idealistic dreamer, and a responsible leader. But Billy Lou Watt totally nails it. He sounds exactly like what I'd imagine Kimba to sound like. Well, you know what I mean. Also, I have to mention this somewhere, Kimba's laugh is adorable.
Do your wounds hurt? Kitty, you're tickling me!
Of course, no series is perfect, and while Kimba the White Lion is my favourite TV show, well, ever, I have to admit there are some things it didn't get right. The biggest problem with the series is the changes that were made when it was translated from Japanese to English. Many episodes have an impactful death of a guest character that really drives home the central idea of the episode. The death of Speedy's grandfather, for example, showed how imperfect the world is right now, a world where humans and animals kill each other out of fear, and emphasized how much we need Kimba's dream. Some other examples are the death of Devilman in The Last Poacher, which represented the death of the traditional way of life in Africa, and the death of Brown in The Wind in the Desert, which showed that although it can have sad consequences, it's honourable and right to fight for what you believe in. But in the English version they tried to edit these scenes to make it look as if the characters escaped, were resting, or it was just their home that got destroyed. It's pretty easy to see through this and realise the scenes were meant to portray death, but it still breaks the immersion a little and lessens the impact. The English dub also made some changes to the story that don't really make sense. Like in the third episode, when Kimba is reunited with Roger, they changed the dialogue to say it's the first time they've met, but then they don't edit the long flashbacks in Fair Game and A Friend Indeed, which show Kimba with Roger before he even came to the jungle. And honestly, the original Japanese story makes more sense. It explains why Kimba is so sympathetic towards humans and so eager to bring civilization to his jungle, since he's spent some time living with them. A more minor example of this translation problem is the character Dash being frequently referred to as Speedy Cheetah, even though there's already a completely different character referred to as Speedy Cheetah, which is pretty confusing. The series also has a couple of other minor problems too. In the last 7 episodes, a lot of the conflicts are a bit bland, and in 2 of these last 7, The Return of Fancy Prancy and The Day the Sun Went Out, Kimba's completely out of character for no explicable reason, refusing to save his friends because he's annoyed with them, which is something he'd never do.
Oh, my poor brother, he must still be down there with those ants.
He was probably off daydreaming somewhere in the jungle when the ants came and we left. Serves him right for being so snooty when his big sister returned from the city.
In City of Gold, he saved the hyenas who just tried to kill him moments earlier.
What a chance! We've always wanted to get rid of Kimba, haven't we? Go ahead, let go.
Hey!
Come on.
Tom, Cap!
Ghosts! Run! The place is haunted! Kimba!
Tom! Look, I'm here. I'm not a ghost.
We're terribly sorry about that accident, Kimba.
Oh, yes, sir.
Right, but don't try it again. Come on, let's go on searching.
And in Diamonds in the Gruff and the Bad Baboon, he risked his life to save alligators and monkeys respectively who had just tried to destroy all the animals in his jungle. There's nothing that would anger Kimba more than that. He put everything he had into that jungle. It's the living embodiment of his dream, everything he stands for and everything he lived for. And yet still he saved its worst enemies. It's in Kimba's nature to put himself on the line to help everyone, no matter how wrong they've acted. So it makes no sense that he'd refuse help to his friends Dash and Leona just because they argued with him earlier. He has plenty of flaws, but hesitating to help others out of spite certainly isn't one of them. It might be in his character to hesitate out of fear of failure or being overwhelmed by the pressure of the situation, but certainly not out of a dislike for someone. But honestly, if 45 out of 52 episodes are great, that's pretty good. The last 7 episodes don't take away at all from the fact that the rest of the series was really fun, with great characters, emotionally impactful scenes, and thought-provoking concepts. For every flaw the show has, it has at least 5 positives. It's hard not to fall in love with it. I highly recommend the series to all children and adults alike. It's one of the most heartfelt and unique animated series of all time, with a truly special and interesting worldview, and a respect for its audience that even many adult TV programs lack. If you haven't seen it yet, go watch it now. I'll put a link to the official DVD and iTunes releases in the description. That's all for now, fellow animals. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so you won't miss a thing. If there's something Kimba related you'd like to see a video about, leave a comment. I'd love to hear your suggestions. I might look ferocious, but I don't bite, promise.